Everyone, I hope you're well. So as some of you may know, my name is Tharundu Elapola. I'm a senior paralegal and head of immigration at Temple Gate Solicitors. So for those of you who haven't been following, Temple Gate Solicitors have partnered up with a group of Good Deeds Charity who've put together this special project to offer help and guidance for those of you who may need some help and guidance with regards to immigration circumstances in the UK. So I think some of you may have heard from my colleague Andrea Houseman on Tuesday. She's there every Tuesday, and I hope you found her session helpful. So during this live feed, I'll be looking to address some of your questions that you post onto this feed. I'll only be able to give general advice. Now, it is difficult for me to give specific advice that may relate to your more specific problems without really analyzing the facts of the matter and getting a complete understanding of it. So where you do have a rather complex or specific problem, I think it would sometimes be better where you get in contact with us. Through this feed, it's usually only easier to answer the more general questions and give out some general advice. Of course, if you would like to discuss your matter, your immigration matter with us in more detail, you can always send us an email or get in touch with the group of Good Deeds Charity who put you in contact with us. You can always visit our website, which is templegatesolicitors.com. Now, throughout the feed, I'll be looking to my left. And I can see there's a question already about that says about advice about what. So it's all about immigration law and the immigration rules that may pertain to people who are either looking to regularize their stay, they may not have any status in the UK, or they may be looking to claim asylum, they may be looking to bring their family members here. Anything related to immigration rules and laws, asylum and nationality laws, we'll do our best to sort of answer your questions and provide some general advice during this session. So, one thing, obviously, the whole reason that these live feeds were started by the group of Good Deeds Charity and Templegate Solicitors was to help people understand their immigration circumstances, given the whole situation with the coronavirus. Of course, the coronavirus has affected every facet of society and life as we know it, from schools to the NHS to the policing system. I mean, you name it, every institution and organization has had to take some measures and they've had to make changes to accommodate for the virus. And of course, that goes for the immigration system too. The Home Office and the UK visas have had to, accommodate and make changes to take into account everything that's happening and all the hardships that people are experiencing. And I just wanted to sort of run through some of the latest developments with regards to immigration laws in the UK in light of the coronavirus. So, of course, for one of the main concerns that people had were people who were in the UK with limited leave to remain, and where their visas were expiring, between the 24th of January and I would say now, and they had no way of extending their stay, or they had no way of leaving the UK, because of course you can't get a flight anywhere right now. So this left some people in quite a predicament where their visas were expiring and they had no way of leaving the UK in time. So the Home Office actually brought in a new concession for people whose visas were expiring. Initially, this was brought in for people whose visas were expiring between the 24th of May and 24th of January and the 31st of March. And all they had to do was write an email to this given email address within the Home Office, and their leave was then extended up until the 31st of March. After the 31st of March, they then brought in a new online form. It's a very short form that you have to fill in if your visa is expiring before the 31st of May. So I believe quite a lot of people have filled in this form because their visas were expiring. And what happened, if you filled in this form, your visa should have been extended. There's no guarantee that it would be, but it should have been extended up until the 31st of May. Now, obviously, the 31st of May has passed. And since the 31st of May has passed, the Home Office have released a bit of new guidance that says that anyone that did apply for this extension, their extensions will automatically be further extended up until the 31st of July. So if you haven't filled in that form, so if you are someone that's entered the UK and your visa expired after between the 24th of January and now, and you haven't had a chance to renew it, or you haven't had an opportunity to leave the UK because of the coronavirus, then please do go online, look for the COVID-19 immigration form. It's a quick form that you can fill in, but you should fill it in because your visa isn't automatically extended. You must complete this form in order for your visa to be extended, and it should be extended up until the 31st of July 2020. What happens after the 31st of July is still to be seen. It all depends on how the whole virus plays out. Other quite significant changes to the immigration rules in light of the coronavirus are to do with switching. So if you're in the UK and you were planning on possibly leaving the UK because you had to make an out-of-country application for entry clearance. So for instance, a spousal visa. A lot of spousal visas where you make the first application generally has to be made from outside of the UK. This is where you're applying on the 5-year route. Those visa applications, the first application is generally an entry clearance application. It needs to be made from outside the UK. We have had a few clients that have come to us. They said they were visiting the UK and their plan was to return to their countries and to apply under the spousal route, but they were prevented from doing so because of the coronavirus, and then they've been stuck in the UK since. So what they've done is they've made an application to switch into the spousal route from inside the UK, and they've been granted a special, they've been granted a special concession, and where they wouldn't ordinarily be allowed to apply from inside the country, they now have been allowed to apply from inside the country. So for all those visas where you're looking to apply for entry clearance, but you can't apply for entry clearance because you're currently inside the UK, you can actually make an application to switch into a longer term visa. So things like FLR visas, FLRM visas, FLRFB visas, all of those visas you can currently make from inside the UK, and you can switch into those if you need to do that. Another concession that has been made is for NHS workers. Of course, we all have to be really grateful to all frontline workers, all key workers, NHS workers in particular, who really, put themselves out there. Most of the NHS is made up of migrants. A lot of the NHS is made up of migrants, people who are there on work permits, on tier 2 and tier 5 work permits. If they're there on a tier 2 work permit, they're on a longer term work permit. Tier 5 work permits where they're maybe there as a doctor or nurse on a temporary basis, or a paramedic. So what the NHS have done is, what the Home Office have done is they've said anyone that works for the NHS, so anyone that's on a visa restricted placement, so if you've got a visa to work for the NHS, and your visa is due to expire by the 1st of October this year, then your visa will be automatically extended for up to 1 year. You don't need to make an application, from what I understand, and you don't need to pay any fees. Your visa will be automatically extended. So that's for anyone working within the health service, right? Anyone working within the NHS, if your visa is due to expire by the 1st of October this year, your visa and the visas of your family members, of your dependent family members, should automatically be extended for a whole year, where you don't have to pay any fees. It should be automatically extended. Another great concession that was recently announced for anyone working within the NHS, where you have to make a paid application to extend your stay. For instance, if you're on a tier 2 visa and you're working for the NHS and you have to then extend your tier 2 visa, you can do that without having to pay your IHS fees now, your immigration health surcharge fees. Of course, the rationale behind that was anyone working for the NHS would be paying taxes. They're obviously serving the NHS and providing for it, and so they shouldn't have to pay double to use the NHS in addition, to paying their taxes and working for it. It makes perfect sense to me. I'm glad that the Home Office actually announced this this policy change. Of course, it came after a lot of pressure that was applied on Priti Patel and the Home Office. I don't think it would have come easily otherwise. But thanks to the pressure that was applied on them, they did make that policy change, and now NHS workers do not have to pay the immigration health surcharge fee when they apply for their visa extensions. Right, I can see that there's a few comments coming through. No questions yet, which is good because I still have quite a bit to cover in terms of the COVID-19 immigration rule concessions. Now, I did say that, family members, if you are the dependent family member of someone working for the NHS and your visa is about to expire before the 1st of October, your visa should also be extended for a whole year automatically. Now, another thing that has come out is that if you are a migrant and you were working for the NHS and you happen, and if that migrant passed away as a result of the coronavirus, their family would be eligible to get indefinite leave to remain in the UK. I don't know the exact details of this, but there is an announcement to say that, if you're a migrant working for the NHS, so if you've come here on a visa to work for the NHS and you've come here with your family and you passed away because of the coronavirus, then the family members of that NHS worker who passed away should be eligible to get indefinite leave to remain for free. So, according to this guidance, you shouldn't have to pay for those applications, which is a huge saving. Not that it would matter, I suppose, if you've lost a family member. It's not something that I wish upon anyone. As valuable as an indefinite leave visa may be for some people, to get it that way wouldn't be pleasant, of course. And I wouldn't wish that upon anyone, of course. So other changes made by oh, hold on, we've got a quick question here. So you said that so this is a question that says, I am a key worker as a driver supplying to the hospital, etc. My wife's entry clearance visa expired in December. Do I have to pay the IHS fee? That all depends on who your employer is, right? If your employer is the NHS, or if it's a health service of any sort, then you may be exempt from the IHS fee. If you're simply working for a delivery company and you're delivering to other organizations in addition to the NHS, then you may not be eligible for the IHS discount. The IHS discount, from what I understand, is a discount that's been made for NHS workers, i.e. people that are employed directly by the NHS. So if you're not employed directly by the NHS, chances are you're not going to be exempt from that. Having said that, given all the concessions that are being made right now, especially if you're a key worker, I believe that the UK should be indebted to you because you're out there on the front lines doing the work that would put yourself in danger. So I would make a request from the Home Office. I would write to the Home Office. I would make a request to them, explain your circumstances, explain that you're a key worker, and say that you're delivering supplies to the NHS, and ask for an exemption from the IHS. You never know, you'll get it, if you'll get it or not, but I think it's well worth asking for it. So yeah, if there's any other questions, please do let me know. So apparently, they did announce, there was an announcement made on the 31st of March that around 2,800 doctors, nurses and paramedics would be eligible for the free extension of their visa, whose visas are due to expire before the 1st of October. So these are just the doctors, nurses and paramedics, and I suppose that number doesn't take into consideration their family members too. And it could, the concessions, these NHS concessions are just they're only offered to NHS workers. Although I do believe it should be extended for other key workers in all sectors of society, because everyone's making a contribution. So that person's contribution should be acknowledged in some way. Unfortunately, these policies do not extend to everyone. They're only extended towards NHS workers. And I see that you haven't stopped working since the lockdown. I mean, I believe, and I think I can use your name because it's obviously posted on the group. But Lena, your question, I believe you should make a request from the Home Office, even though technically the IHS discount is only available to NHS workers. Considering that your services have contributed and have helped the NHS directly, you should make a request to the to the Home Office before you make your application. So just write to them, explain your circumstances, explain what job that you do, and explain how your job has assisted the NHS, and explain that you haven't stopped working since lockdown, and that you're a key worker, and ask for a discount from the IHS fee, which after October this year is going to go up. Actually, in fact, let me see if I can give you the exact figures of how much these IHS fees are going to go up by. So they will be going up from October this year. So if you submit an immigration application after October 2020, the immigration health surcharge will increase. So for anyone that applies right now, the immigration health surcharge is currently set at £400 per year, which means if you're making most normal applications, usually get you leave of around 2.5 years on the spousal route, on the tier 2 route. Student visas, generally you get a bit more depending on the length of your course, but let's say a 2.5-year visa, if you're paying £400 a year, you end up paying up to £1,000 at the point of making your application. That £400 is now going to increase to £624 a year. It will be slightly less for students, so be prepared for that. If you do have an application that's coming up for renewal, or if you're planning on applying for entry clearance come October and after that, then you will be paying the increased fee of £624. And I believe for children and students that £620 is going to be reduced to £470. So slightly less, but still more than what an adult is paying now. So an adult that's paying an adult and a student would be paying £400 now. After October, children and students will be paying £470. It's a huge increase. So there's another question that's come through by Alina. Says, my husband has an EEA family member. He's got a 5-year biometric residence card, which is due to expire in 2022. I applied for the pre-settled status in February. I'm still waiting for the response. Does my husband have to apply under the settled status scheme? Yes. If your husband's completed his 5 years, so I understand from your question that he's got a 5-year residence permit, right? So if he's completed his 5 years and he's been resident in the UK for 5 years, he should be applying to settle in the UK under the settlement scheme, where he'll be granted indefinite leave to remain or permanent residency. He must show that he's been resident, so he must show that he's actually been living in the UK during that time when he applies for his indefinite leave to remain, and he has to show that he's been exercising treaty rights. Of course, when you apply through the new settlement scheme, it's usually done through a mobile phone. Sorry, excuse me. I've got a bit of a croak in my throat. So yeah, it's usually done through a mobile phone or through your computer. Once you enter in your NI number, your address, your name, and all your other details, the system actually does a live check of whether you've been paying taxes, whether you've been residing and exercising treaty rights in the UK for the 5-year period. So if your husband, for instance, if he's been working or if he's been operating a business, or if he's been claiming benefits, it should all be tied in with his NI number. And so when he makes the application to settle using the new settlement scheme through the app or the computer, once he enters his details in, it should automatically tell you whether he's eligible to settle or not. If there's extra information that needs to be submitted, they will ask for it. But from my experience, where people have been working consistently, operating business and paying taxes, they rarely ask for the extra documents and the extra information. Usually just the NI number and the other information that you put in the application itself is enough for them to confirm your status and to confirm whether you're eligible for the settlement status here. So yes, the question to that is, if your husband has been in the UK for 5 years, then he should be applying under the settlement scheme. Anyone that hasn't met the settlement scheme, as I assume you haven't, because you said you had applied under the pre-settlement scheme, that's so anyone that hasn't been in the UK for 5 years would apply under the pre-settlement scheme, which would give them a pre-settled status, and they would remain on that status until they've completed a total of 5 years, which includes the any time spent prior to applying for the pre-settled status. So once they've completed the 5 years in total, then you would have to then switch on to the settled status. So you would then apply for the settled status, where you would then be granted permanent residence in the UK. So I hope that answered your question. There is another question that's come through saying, I've got a friend who is here illegally for 12 years. Is there any way to sort out his residence? I mean, 12 years is a significant period of time. It really depends on this is a very broad question that you're asking, Chico. You know, your friend has been here for 12 years. We need to have a look at what his circumstances in the UK are. We also need to have a look at what his circumstances outside of the UK, so the country that he originated from. We need to have a look at, are there reasons as to why he can't return to that country? Are there obstacles to his integration, to his reintegration into his country of origin? So there might be certain barriers that may prevent him from returning. We also have to look at what his ties and bonds in the UK are. Does he have a private life here, and does he have a family life here? Right, where someone has been remaining in the UK illegally, you know, you are restricted for the most part from making most types of immigration applications, such as you know, study visas, work visas, visas to start a business. The sort of applications which would be available to you are human rights applications, where you have to show your ties and bonds to the UK, whether they be private life ties or family life ties. And if we can establish that, I think if he has a family life here, or if there are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances which you think, or which your friend thinks, that should be taken into consideration when making a decision as to whether he should be granted leave or not, then we can put those forward. Obviously, any representations that we make have to be backed up with good evidence. So, you know, whatever we do say as to why your friend should be granted leave, it needs to be backed up with evidence. 12 years generally isn't enough nowadays to establish a private life where you've been in the UK legally. According to the immigration rules, once the private life rules were codified into law in the UK, you know, the period of time that you have to spend in the UK, which is considered enough to establish a private life where you've been here legally, is 20 years. So your friend is 8 years short of the 20 under the rules to establish a private life, and even just the 20 itself isn't enough. You also have to show that there are insurmountable obstacles as to why you cannot return to your country of origin, even where you do meet those 20 years. Where you've spent less than 20 years, and I'm assuming your friend is over the age of 25, there are other concessions available for people under the age of 25, and again, other concessions available if your friend is under the age of 18. So I think it's well worth for your friend to get in touch with either us or another immigration consultant and really discuss his circumstances. There's another question that's come through from Adam. It says, settled status, just need to show continuous residence for 5 years, no need to meet the treaty rights, as Directive 2004, 2008, etc. Okay, that's up to you. Usually, to get the settled status, you do need to show that you've been resident in the UK. So, yeah, I mean, if you feel like you are confident in making that application, please do go ahead. There's another question that's come through. And I'm an asylum seeker. My IRC card will expire on the 10th of July 2020. I didn't have the second interview yet. Shall I write to the Home Office? You can write to the Home Office. Just because your ARC card expires doesn't mean that you cease to become an asylum seeker. Your ARC card isn't what makes you an asylum seeker. If you've got a pending asylum matter that's going through the Home Office or going through the tribunal, until that matter is concluded, you are considered a refugee and your asylum case is considered to be pending. Of course, if you do need to renew your ARC card, then yes, you need to write to the Home Office. But right now, from my experiences, you will not have much luck in getting a new card anytime soon, because a lot of people have been waiting an extremely long time for new biometric cards and new ARC cards, because I believe the offices where they actually print these cards are kind of functioning at a very limited capacity given this current circumstances with the coronavirus. So yeah, there's nothing to stop you from writing to the Home Office and renewing your card. It's probably useful to have your ARC card and a renewed ARC card in your possession, because it is a means of proving identity and proving your current status in the UK. So yeah, by all means do write to the Home Office, but don't expect a response anytime soon. So there's a comment here. This is why settled status applicants will have difficulty in obtaining the citizenship. So I'm not sure if that's a statement or a question. Maybe it's that relating to your previous comment. I don't know. Adam, please feel free to contact us if you want to discuss this further. So there's a question from Chico Rachik from Algeria. Let's see. Right, okay. So Chico, your friend who was here for 12 years, he's from Algeria. Right, Chico, again, your friend needs to get in touch. Like I said, it's a very broad question that you asked. It all depends on his personal circumstances. We need to really examine his life in and out of the UK to consider whether there are any reasons for making an application, whether he has any grounds for making an application to regularize his stay. Yep, 20 years is a long time. It's a very long time. It used to be 14 years before Theresa May came into power. In 2012, she codified what the private life meant. Before that, it was all kind of ingrained in case law. The whole private life route and even the family life route wasn't really codified in the rules or in the law. It was all done through case law. So it was looked at on a case-by-case basis, but the general consensus was that if you were in the UK with and you didn't have a visa, so you were considered illegal. You generally had to be in the UK for up to 14 years before you could claim a private life. Obviously, Theresa May came in and said, no, that's not enough. Let's make that 20. But of course, if you don't meet the 20-year rule, that's still fine. If there are, we've had applicants where they didn't meet the 20 years. They were short of it by a few years. Not by a lot of years, just by a few years. They were short, but they were able to show other reasons as to why their applications should be considered, even though they were short. So they were able to show other exceptional reasons, other very considerably strong ties, bonds and reasons as to why the UK was considered their home and why they didn't consider any other country their home, why they had exceptionally strong economic, family, social and cultural ties to the UK. You need to generally show for those sorts of applications that those ties are stronger here than anywhere else, and that your reintegration into any other country, so the country that you may have originated from, would be very difficult. Of course, all of the reasons that you put forward have to be backed up with very strong evidence. I got a question. I'm married to a British citizen. Fox October, and I'm pregnant. What is the best solution of my immigration status? So if you're married to a British citizen and you're pregnant, I'm guessing you may not have leave to remain as things stand, but you're married to a British citizen. If you're currently in the UK, then I would put in an application to regularize your stay under the spousal route. You may be put into the 10-year route. Of course, all spousal applications have to be made from outside the country, but because you're inside the country currently, the Home Office will ask you to provide reasons as to why you cannot make an out-of-country application. And of course, your reason could be that you're pregnant and possibly unable to travel right now. And like I said, because of the coronavirus, there have been special concessions put in place where people that would ordinarily be asked to make out-of-country applications can now make applications for further leave to remain from inside the UK. So I think now would be a particularly good time. And of course, if you get your application in before the 31st of July, which is the cutoff date for these special coronavirus concessions as things stand, I think now is a good time for you to put in an application for further leave to remain on the spousal route. And I think you probably, if your status in the UK currently isn't regularized, if you're not on another type of visa already, then you may be put onto the 10-year route. If you're already on another type of visa, so for instance, if you're here as a student or on a Tier 2 work visa, you could easily apply to switch into the 5-year route, 5-year spousal route. You'd have to meet, you and your partner and your spouse would have to meet all the requirements of that route. You'd have to make sure that you meet the English language requirement, the income threshold, the accommodation, and of course you have to show that your relationship is genuine. And if you can do all of that, then you're an asylum seeker. If you're an asylum seeker, you can apply from inside the UK. You would generally be put into the 10-year route though, because your immigration status is considered precarious. But no, I think now is a good time. You need to jump onto this opportunity quickly. Zumia, you need to do this quickly. I think now is a good time, given the current concessions in place due to the coronavirus, to put in an application for a spousal visa from inside the UK. There's another comment here. Best apply for further submissions once you gave birth. Be granted discretionary evasion private life. Oh, I think Adam here is. I'm not sure if he's commenting. It's not further submissions. It's just you wouldn't make further submissions, Adam. I would put in an application for further leave to remain. So please do be careful with the advice that you're giving out. By the way, Adam is not a member of Templegate Solicitors. The only people giving out advice for Templegate Solicitors is myself and Andrea. Anyone else that's commenting is not a part of Templegate Solicitors. I just have to say that. Of course, anyone's free to comment. But of course, just have to make that very clear that the advice in this group is just being given out by myself and Andrea. Any other comments that are being published, that are being posted, are not from our firm. Kiko LeBlanc, I've been here for 2 years. So Kiko, if you've been here for 2 years, what is it you'd like to achieve, and what is your current status here? Maybe if you can get in contact with us, we can have a look to see what we can do for you. Okay, thank you, Adam, for your comments. Are there any other questions that are coming through? If not, I would quickly like to just make a comment on the current coronavirus, concessions that have been made, especially for students. So we've had a lot of students contacting us and asking us, what concessions are available to them. Of course, some students who are here on a Tier 4 visa, they've enrolled onto a course of studies, but they're not able to complete their studies because their universities may have been shut down, and their course of studies may have been suspended, or they weren't able to sit their exams for whatever reasons. So right now, the Home Office are giving extensions. They're granting extensions where you haven't been able to complete your course of studies. So if you're a student, sorry, bear with me. So if you're a student and you are currently stuck in the UK and you weren't able to complete your course of studies, then you can make an application to extend your current stay. Um, you don't have to register with the police anymore. So if you're a student and you were previously required to register with the police, you don't need to do that. And distance learning is now permitted if you're a student. And if you work for the NHS on a part-time basis, so if you're here on a Tier 4 visa and you're part-time work, so you're working 20 hours a week, usually the limit was 20 hours a week, and if you're working those hours a week, and those restrictions have now been lifted where you can continue to work for as many hours as you want as long as you're working for the NHS. So this is lifted for doctors, nurses and paramedics who are working part-time for the NHS on a Tier 4 visa. Of course, volunteering is permitted for anyone on a Tier 4 visa or on any visa really. If you want to volunteer, you can volunteer. Kiko, I think there's a comment that says, I come from Greece in a lorry. I think your case, we need to look at a lot more closely. I'll put our contact details in there afterwards. Please feel free to contact us and we can give you a free consultation. We give free consultations to anyone that calls. It's just a very quick 5-minute call, 5 to 10 minutes, where we can just generally hear out what your matter is. We can just examine your case and just present whatever options may be available to you. Of course, it is just a very quick session, 5 to 10 minutes. If you need something longer than that, then we would have to book you in for a consultation. But, you know, for anyone that's looking to chat to us about the immigration matter, please feel free to give us a call. Of course, we will put our contact details in this live feed afterwards. And I can see that there's more comments coming through. So there's, I think Adam Ali's put in something for a Facebook group. Again, this has got nothing to do with Templegate solicitors. You're free to post whatever you want. Just have to make that very clear that Adam's group is not a part of Templegate solicitors at all. The question to Ali Zumuchi, they're combining the 5-year route. Is there a way to combine spousal route and Tier 4 route? No, there isn't. Right. The Tier 4 route isn't designed to lead to ILR. When you jump onto the 5-year route, the spousal route, your clock starts from 0. It starts from the beginning, and you have to complete your 5 years, I'm afraid. I hope that answers your question. Okay, good. Adam, thank you for clarifying that. It's an Arabic group. It's his own group as confirmed. So, you know, just to make it very clear, Adam Ali is not a part of Templegate solicitors. And Kiko has said, I am an Algerian. Kiko, you need to get in contact with us. I think we need a lot more information from you. So that we can really assess your circumstances. Like I said, we'll put our contact details in this group afterwards, or you can always visit our website for more information. Do you know when the Home Office will open for cases? The Home Office are currently still open. You can still submit your applications to them. We have been getting decisions from the Home Office. I think some of their caseworkers and immigration officials have been working from home. They may be going into the office, but the Home Office is functioning. It's just functioning in a limited capacity. You can, if you've got an application to submit, you can submit it. You can still submit your application. You can pay for it. You can pay for your IHS fees. But what you will be prevented from doing is providing your biometrics and your documents at a UK VCAS centre. So where you need to provide your biometrics and VCAS centres, what you'd need to do is submit your application, pay for it, then your application is considered submitted, but then you'd have to wait for the UK VCAS centres to open again. They have started opening again on a limited capacity around the country, but what you'll find is that the centres which are open will be the more expensive centres, or they may be quite a distance away from where you live. So they are starting to open up again, the UK VCAS centres, little by little. So yeah, the Home Office is still functioning. The 5 years starts from the date that they issue you with the visa, Ali. So in reply to that question, it's the 5 years starting from the date you got married or the date you got the visa. or the date that someone submitted the visa, when you're granted your visa, you'll be given a biometric residence permit. The residence permit start date is really the date that your 5 years starts from. Or if you're applying for entry clearance, your 5 years will start from the date that you enter the UK. So generally what happens if you apply for entry clearance on the 5-year route is you're given an entry clearance stamp, which is valid for around 3 months, I believe, and then you have to enter the UK within that time and then go and collect your biometric permit from a nearby post office. So the biometric permit that you receive will contain your long-term visa on it, but your 5 years actually starts from the date that you enter the UK. And I hope that answers your question. Right, I think the questions are kind of trickling through, but I'm gonna end it a little early today because it turns out there aren't all that many questions. But I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for tuning into this session and for your questions. Of course, like I said before, if there's anything more that we can help you with, please get in contact with us. Like I said, we'd be happy to sort of listen out to your problems and offer you some very general advice through a phone call. My colleague Andrea will be here next week on Tuesday. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to maybe email her or email us beforehand, so that we have an idea of the sort of questions that you like that you'll have, so we can maybe cover it a little more thoroughly during our sessions. There's one more question: EA spouse who's separated from wife but not legally divorced, and make application 17 days. Yes, I mean, look, if the EEA spouse has separated from their wife, even though they're not legally divorced, the relationship is no longer subsisting. So it would be hard to argue that the wife is currently dependent on the EEA spouse. In terms of gaps between visas, I think your question needs a little more clarification, Asel. Again, I'm going to put an end to this session, but please do feel free to get in contact with us, and I'll be sort of happy to discuss your matter with you. And thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you again next week. And yes, do look out for Andrea's session next Tuesday. Take care all. Bye-bye.